Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Ambassadors Elite World Outreach Podcast. I'm your host, and we have a great show for you today.
So, what on earth does an ancient religious text have in common with modern Silicon Valley growth hacking? Well, today, we are diving deep into a really fascinating explainer to answer exactly that. We're going to be looking at a piece of source material, specifically a daily religious text by Ambassador David F. Nufulu called The Ambassador's Daily Banquets. But here's the catch. We aren't just going to read it as a devotional. No, we are going to reverse engineer the whole thing. We're going to see how it structurally acts as this massive, highly sophisticated funnel for global digital engagement. It is literally a masterclass in behavioral psychology and community building. I mean, we're talking about taking a reader from a quiet, private moment of morning reflection and seamlessly dropping them right into a round-the-clock international network. It's wild.
Here is our roadmap for the breakdown. We've got 5 sections. 1. The core spiritual message. 2. Personal application and prayer. 3. The path to salvation. 4. The digital ecosystem. And 5. A global mission. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The core spiritual message, setting the theological foundation.
Okay, so every successful funnel needs an unshakable entry point, right? Before you can ever ask a user to change their behavior or join a cause, you absolutely have to establish trust. So the author begins with a really powerful scripture from Galatians to establish a theological baseline, focusing entirely on the theme of living in resurrection authority. And from a structural standpoint, this is just brilliant. By starting with a universally recognized authority like the King James Bible, the document instantly bypasses any initial skepticism. Think of it kind of like a tech startup citing a peer-reviewed Harvard study right before they pitch you a new health app. It grounds the reader in this familiar, trusted territory and sets a tone of indisputable authority right from the very first sentence.
Once that authority is locked in, the text swiftly pivots into framing the classic pain point and solution model. The author really leans into this idea of ultimate transformation. The source text explains that this resurrection power is not just some abstract historical concept. It's a concrete tool that's meant to transform modern weakness into strength and daily fear into boldness. It's directly addressing universal human pain points, anxiety, fear, despair, and offering a clear, highly desirable solution. The text even uses the biblical example of Paul and Silas singing in prison to show exactly how this power overcomes extreme, real-world circumstances. It's highly effective storytelling, acting as a sort of case study. It's totally designed to make the reader feel immediately empowered and hungry for that exact same result in their own life.
Moving on to Section 2. Personal application and prayer, internalizing the message.
Now, reading about an empowering concept is one thing, but a truly successful funnel requires the user to actually internalize that information. So, under a section titled Life Application, the author drops in a brilliant psychological dichotomy. The text asks a very direct question. Are you living in the power of Christ's resurrection, or are you living in weakness and fear? This structure forces the reader right into a binary choice. In digital marketing terms, this is pushing the user to make a definitive opt-in. By framing the options so starkly, the document practically compels the reader to actively reject the negative state of fear and consciously buy into the authority and boldness that's being offered. You can't just sit on the fence. You're forced to pick a side.
So having forced that choice, the devotional then explicitly calls the reader to action. It asks them to internalize these really specific behavioral commitments, like declaring power, committing to a victorious walk, and reflecting authority. But it doesn't just stop at mental agreement. It goes a step further and provides a pre-written daily prayer for the reader to actually say aloud. This is exactly what community builders call generating a micro-commitment. Getting a user to physically read a prayer out loud is a small but incredibly powerful physical action that dramatically increases their psychological investment. The reader is no longer just passively absorbing information, they are actively speaking it into their reality, which is a massive psychological step deeper into the engagement funnel.
Which brings us to Section 3, the path to salvation, the conversion mechanism.
Here's where things take a really fascinating structural shift. We move from daily encouragement into a highly structured conversion mechanism. The text outlines precise, scripture-backed steps for salvation. You can think of this as the ultimate user agreement or, honestly, a totally frictionless onboarding flow. Every single step, acknowledging sin, believing, confessing, and choosing to follow, is meticulously laid out and paired with a specific, verifiable Bible verse, like Romans 3:23 or John 3:16. By explicitly defining the parameters of conversion, it completely removes any guesswork or friction for the reader. It provides the structured, undeniable path to becoming what the text calls a new creation, effectively locking in the ultimate level of personal commitment.
And bam, right here is the pivot. Honestly, this might be the most fascinating structural tactic in the entire document.
Immediately after the salvation prayer, which is obviously the moment of absolute peak emotional resonance, the text hits you with congratulations and then seamlessly funnels the new believer into acquiring digital resources. It drops direct hyperlinks to the seller platform to purchase ebooks like Understanding Born Again. This is a textbook upsell or cross-sell engagement strategy. It so brilliantly blends a highly emotional spiritual milestone with immediate, accessible digital ministry tools. It capitalizes on the user's momentum to lock them into the organization's broader content ecosystem literally before they even have a chance to put their phone down.
All right, Section 4, the digital ecosystem, building a 24-hour community.
Once the reader is fully engaged and has taken those initial steps, the text introduces this expansive multi-platform digital ecosystem designed to keep them continually connected. And let me tell you, this schedule is intense. The ministry utilizes specific late-night and early morning WhatsApp groups to maintain active round-the-clock community participation. We are talking about a midnight prayer from 12 a.m. to 1 a.m., followed almost immediately by ambassadors' tongues declarations at 1:30 a.m. This always-on community building strategy is deeply, deeply effective. By hosting events in the middle of the night, the organization is capitalizing on times when people might be feeling the most isolated or vulnerable. It provides immediate community and cements a super resilient bond between the user and the network. But it goes way beyond just those late-night groups. The author systematically lists links across almost every major social network you can think of. They've got a business tycoon group on WhatsApp, audio podcasts on Telegram, a professional presence on LinkedIn, and short-form video content on TikTok and YouTube. In the marketing world, we call this a perfect execution of an omni-channel strategy. Because the goal isn't just to be on the internet, the goal is to completely surround the user. This cross-platform approach makes sure the ministry's presence is basically inescapable. Regardless of what app the user prefers to open or what time of day they're scrolling, the community ecosystem is already there, ready and waiting to re-engage them.
Finally, Section 5, a global mission, scaling the reach. Now, the text zooms way out. It takes the focus entirely off the individual reader's smartphone and reveals the staggering global ambitions of this organization, which is based in Lagos, Nigeria. 500 million. That is the target for what the document calls Operation 500 Million Souls for Christ. Just to put that massive number into perspective, that is significantly larger than the entire population of the United States and Mexico combined. It's a huge figure that gives the reader a powerful psychological jolt. You start your morning reading this quiet, intimate devotional about overcoming your own personal fear, and by the end of the document, you realize you have just been seamlessly onboarded into a massive mission aiming to reach 500 million people. But how do you actually hit a number like that? Well, the text clearly categorizes exactly how the reader can actively contribute. It offers these distinct, structured roles. You can be a prayer partner interceding daily, a volunteer missionary serving out in the field, or a kingdom investor providing consistent financial support. This is a brilliant example of tiered user engagement. Not everyone has the capacity to drop everything and be a missionary, right? So the organization offers lower barrier entry points like daily prayer, right alongside premium commitment tiers like financial investment. By providing a menu of specific job titles, it ensures that nobody drops out of the funnel just because they lack options. Everyone gets a customized way to belong to the larger movement. And just to prove this isn't some localized effort, the document concludes by mapping out 22 global prayer time zones. The source lists everyone from Canada to Indonesia, Finland to South Africa, providing exact local prayer times for a highly synchronized worldwide spiritual effort. This absolutely leverages massive social proof. It takes that staggering goal of 500 million and makes it feel entirely possible by showing the actual global logistics already in place. It makes the reader sitting alone in their living room in the US or India feel instantly connected to the reader in Nigeria. It completely transforms a solitary reader into an integral gear of a massive, unstoppable, worldwide machine.
It is honestly an incredible structural feat. We've traced the entire journey from a private morning reflection establishing deep trust through a frictionless personal conversion directly into digital product onboarding and all the way to a synchronized 24-hour global movement utilizing omni-channel strategies and tiered engagement. It's a true masterclass in behavioral architecture. And it leaves us with a pretty big question to chew on. How many modern digital organizations out there, regardless of their industry, could exponentially scale their own reach by adopting this exact same seamless blend of intimate personal messaging and massive global architecture?
Thank you for watching. Please share, like, and comment. Your host, God7, David F. Wafulu.